Hey guys, Dr. Miriam here. Welcome to my channel. I am a family nurse practitioner and spiritual medium. I am also a half of a twin flame. Today I'm going to be talking about a twin flame union. So if you have questions as to what it is, if you are one, if you're not sure if you're one, if you're not sure what it is, tune in because I'm going to talk more about twin flame unions and a bit about my journey to give some background. All right, let's jump into twin flame unions. If you think or know that you're part of one, or you're not sure, or you don't care, well, here you go. There's a little information. The twin flame union, for those that aren't sure what it is or don't understand how it works, it is, you can look up in quantum physics, the idea of the quantum entanglement theory. So it's like an atom split. That atom, that split, is constantly affecting or influencing the other. So any learning, expansion, anything that one is doing, the other is also experiencing in some way, shape, or form, or it's changing the other. Not that they know how or why, it's just one always affects the other. And that is in quantum entanglement theory, those atoms that's happening. Think of the same thing for the twin flame union. So once they are awakened or aware, that's when that shift is more evident. But what happens with the union is that in the idea of the oneness splitting, if you don't know what I'm talking about the God consciousness, the oneness of the God consciousness splitting. If God doesn't jive with you, the energy that is God, think of universe, higher source, source. Look at my first video. I pinned it. It talks a little more about what I mean when I'm talking about God. But I'm not talking about the God of many today, or the God that is like punishing and judgmental and all those human attributes. I'm talking about the God that is love. There's only love. But it is the energy that created everything that is here, that created the cosmos, created us. Our oneness split into a billion pieces so God could experience itself, that energy, through us living our lives. In that split, then think of that one piece of that split, that atom, splits again. So that it is the exact frequency, exact vibration, exact frequency of the other. And it is essentially like the divine match to the other. It does not mean that those two are meant to be together in this life necessarily. I'll get to that. So think of it that way. And so then beyond that, then the agreement between those two as souls, so it's the same soul split into two different forms. The agreement is that at some point in time, they will wake each other up to the mirror that they came here to be for the other, for their own healing and expansion, and the expansion of the consciousness. Because as twin flames awaken and heal, so as every single one of us heals, the greater consciousness heals. And so as the twin flames heal, the same thing is happening, but think on a much greater energetic level. And so the thing I tell people all the time is, whether you are part of a twin flame union or not, it doesn't totally matter. The twin flame union in that split and in the awakening, in that moment that it sets off the awakening between the two, it is essentially a very, very challenging journey where the feminine goes first, which is what we get to do in society as well. The feminine goes first, just to put her foot down and start saying, I'm going to start going within, I'm going to start healing myself. And that's how the masculine steps up. In this union, it is the exact same way. So they are a mirrored awareness of the greater, their wounds are mirrored wounds of the greater wounds of the collective. And so in the awakening, the feminine goes first and the masculine becomes, when she looks at the masculine, because the masculine is the exact mirror to her, the wounds that she sees, or the shadow self that she sees of hers, her own shadows, become so evident that it's more than anybody else. So the wound, there's a lot of misconception in the world of twin flames that says that it's a very toxic relationship, and it depends on how you see what's happening. It is a very deep awareness of love, because what's actually happening is the feminine is looking at the masculine, and he mirrors the divine nature of herself. She thinks it's him, but it's herself. When she looks at him, and the feeling she gets when she looks at him is actually just a mirror bouncing back to see her soul's essence. But she, until we understand differently, thinks it's actually him that is the love. And that's part of the curriculum. So then the curriculum becomes, I love this man so much. And his presence becomes this space in which all of our wounds as the feminine become really noticeable. All of our fears. I did another video, take a look at it for the feminine and masculine. It's quite long, but I have a hard time shortening what I want to say. So the feminine and masculine, I just totally lost my train of thought. Okay, we're back. I had to listen for a second. So the wounds. So because they're the same vibration and frequency, and everybody's a mirror in our lives, but this mirror is the divine mirror that is our other half, then anything that is a wound that keeps us from understanding our wholeness and the divine essence that is our soul, because in looking at that person and looking at that other half, we are reflected back the magnitude of our soul. If this doesn't make sense, let me know, and I can try and talk about it a different way. Just let me know in the comments. So then the masculine mirrors the greatest places of our wounding. And the idea in having the pair, and having the two, is that the masculine shows the shadow to the feminine, shows her shadow self. And then the goal is to go within and start to heal those things. The thing is that not everybody understands that idea. And because the pull and the love and the pull of the feminine as the vacuum that's pulling, trying to not get abandoned, trying to not get left, especially after a feeling that is as strong as the feeling can be with this other half, then the greater that pull becomes, the more the masculine wants to run, the more that shame and guilt cycle kicks in. And people can see the dynamic is very toxic because the bond is so strong. The feeling of love for the other is so strong, but it's really just playing on the wounds, but it's mirroring your divine wholeness. So that's what the other is seeing, the feminine at least is seeing in the masculine, but she's really just looking at herself. She doesn't realize that. And so it can be seen as very toxic if you're not aware of the fact that everything is happening for you, for your expansion, for your growth, for your healing. And that's when I say, whether you are in a twin flame union or not, if you are in a relationship and the person that you are with is triggering like setting you off, making you question things, let that be the lesson. It's the same as the divine feminine. It's the same as, we're all divine feminines. We're all divine masculines, if you're masculine or divine feminines. But we all have the divine masculine feminine energy. I talked about that in the first video also, that as a whole, we have divine feminine and masculine within both of us, within ourselves. And so whether you're in a twin flame, and this is why I say it doesn't matter. Like, it matters on the greater scale of things, but it doesn't matter in that if you allow somebody that you're with to, if you step back and say, okay, everything in life is happening for me, because it's not happening to you. You are not a victim. You are a co-creator of the situation, the circumstances in your life that you are facing right now, where the universe is trying to is asking you to heal. It's asking you to find the places in which you've forgotten your wholeness. The people in your life are mirrors. So if they trigger you, if they set you off, it's not about them. It's about you. Whether you are in a twin flame union or not, whether you are in what feels like a toxic relationship and you think it's just a twin flame, or you're actually in a twin flame union and it seems very toxic, because it can when the healing phases, because the healing is so deep and so challenging that one can think that it's all about the healing. Ultimately, it's not even about the relationship. And that's where I say it doesn't matter, is that ultimately it's not actually about the relationship. The whole idea and premise of the twin flame union is that it is going to trigger the other person so deeply that they are going to move into their healing. But you don't have to be in that union to move into your healing. Let it be a mirror for you. If you understand the concept now, let it be a mirror for you. That the whole point is to move into your healing. And the person that you're with, especially in an intimate relationship where you're, especially when you put sex in the mix, they're going to trigger those things for you. And so allow that to be the lesson, and understand that you are a co-creator. Your energy, who you are, and what you need to learn is attracting the person that you need to learn that from. In the twin flame dynamic, it is set off by the other person, whether they're actually physically there or not, because different twin flame unions will happen differently. And so look at it as the goal is not to be with that other person in a twin flame union. It is to find your own wholeness. It is to find all the places that you do not see that you are whole, and to heal those. In the twin flame union, that's where then the feminine, in going into allowing the masculine becomes her curriculum, becomes her focus, and it's very hard to move away from it, but that's intentional, because that's where they are supposed to mirror every time to you the places where you don't understand your wholeness. And so long as you think you're a victim and he's doing something to you, instead of you understanding that it's your wound and he's just his presence is, or something he did or said is just like opening that wound to make it more evident for you. The thing is that you're meant to go into that wound and start healing. That's why it's so challenging, and people will talk about the twin flame union in that way, is because they're divine mirrors for the other. And so, but as the feminine comes into her wholeness and goes into the space where now she can hold her own container, she can hold herself, her masculine and feminine is healed, and she holds her own space. As in the last video I talked about, you can go see that video about masculine and feminine. I just went into like a whole dynamic of how and why and our wounds. But as the feminine heals herself and realizes she doesn't actually need the masculine, that she was always looking at herself through him, and that her wholeness within herself means she gets to pull her energy back and focus on herself and her life and her divine purpose. And as she does that, he now has the space to move through his own healing. And the lack of her is what pulls him into his own healing. Her being able to hold her space, the lack of her energy there, that void that he now feels because she's pulled all her energy back and she is in her wholeness and on her own like journey because she's found her wholeness, then he moves through his healing. And eventually, especially because they are a perfect energetic match, it's very hard for anybody else to equal the love of two whole pieces to the other. And so then that's where they say it's almost inevitable that twin flames don't come back together if you're doing the work and healing yourself. Because once you're fully healed, then a lot of that wounding has gone. It won't be totally fully, but a lot of the wounding is gone, and now you just magnetize to each other. You don't have to actually do anything. It's just that your energy magnetizes back to each other. So that's the twin flame, but let that be a mirror for anybody that doesn't know if they're in one, thinks they're in one. It doesn't matter. That's why I say it doesn't matter. Allow the person that you're with, and every time they trigger you, to go, what's here? What's behind the story? What's behind this feeling that I'm feeling that they just brought up in me? Why do I feel this so deeply? Because usually the moment you feel it, there's a story behind where that came first. And in the same way that in the twin flame union, that's meant to just help you move toward healing, which heals the consciousness. Because prime example, I went through my own healing, now have some great understanding, and feel very, very called to serve the collective in my understanding because of the growth that I went through. And so the feminine in general, like in understanding that the wounding that the masculine and feminine go through in the twin flame union mirrors the wounding of the collective consciousness, of the greater consciousness, then every feminine can understand that this is a way for all of us to start healing, is for the feminine to start healing themselves. And understanding that as you come into your own wholeness, you will magnetize somebody in their own wholeness, or you will shift the dynamic of the person that you're with to where they start having the space to find their own wholeness. But that's and then the twin flame union, for those of you that are new to the idea or still working on it, I'm going to admit that I don't know all, I'm not an expert in it. I have followed someone named Regita Shaman, and she seems to be quite an expert in it, and we've worked with a lot of people. But the idea that there's different ways the twin flame union looks. People can be together already, and then they trigger each other. There's a moment in time where all of a sudden, like, the awareness clicks in, and it leads to this huge cascade where, you know, one energy is the masculine energy is going to be the male. The masculine energy is the runner, is running away. The feminine is the chaser. She's chasing after, because her energy is directed toward him until such time as she finds her wholeness, and then she pulls it back to herself. And then at that point, it's polarity also, right? So as long as she's going this way, he's going this way. As she starts to pull back hers, he starts to come this way. But as they hold their own, they are pulling, but they don't need to, like, collapse onto each other. But as she pulls back, he comes back, but he's doing his own healing. So it can be within relationship already, and then there's this divinely appointed, like, moment where the awareness happens. It can be two people meeting and trying to do, you know, a relationship that doesn't work until because they trigger each other so much, because their wounds are so big, and because the masculine triggers the feminine in all her shadows, then it's really the work that she does that really allows space for the masculine to come back. Because until she can heal her wounds, they can't heal wounds with each other. It's very challenging. But anyway, so there are the ones that are together, and then there's a pulling apart. There are the ones that come together for a short amount of time and then pull apart, where, because the feminine has to work by herself, on herself, she can't do it with him present, because it's such a trigger. And then I understand that my experience is a little bit unique in that I met my twin flame once, and it triggered my soul to remember. And then I did work on my own for the last 3 years. And over the last year, there was communication back and forth between the two of us, but there was we didn't see each other. Communication via messaging. And then I, as I came into my own wholeness, cut off all communication again. And that, with an understanding of an intuition from that he just couldn't go any further. This was his time to heal, and that communication being cut off was the way that was the best for both of us. And so, but it's very amicable. It was just this very, like, hey, I think our soul contract is over, and I'm gonna move on. Because also, as a twin flame, you're not supposed to tell the other one. You rob the other one of their healing and their true journey if you tell them about the spiritual connection. It's the same idea of, like, you can't, if you have kids, like, you can't always teach your kids everything. They have to experience it for themselves to truly understand it. It's the same idea. You know, you rob them of truly understanding the depth of their own healing if you drop this bomb on them up front about what the connection is that you know. And so mine happened in that way. But for those of you that don't believe that the connection is real, I've read comments, because I did not understand about the twin flame union until after I understood that he was my other half. Then I started getting more information, like, that came into my field about twin flames. And then I asked my guides about why they didn't tell me sooner about what this was. And it was that very idea that like, we can't circumvent that for you. You have to, would you have believed us? But two, we can't, A and B. That's part of like you going through everything that you went through to get to this place before you understood the rest of it is really important. And so I've read people's comments on twin flames, and people think it's like woo-woo, people think it's not real, people think it's just made up, people think because of some people's description of the toxic nature of it, they think it's just a toxic relationship being disguised as spiritual. And so what I'll say is it's not woo-woo, it's very real. It is the very awareness that the twin flames, once they do awaken, their energetic expansion is, and because of the frequency that they emit, is raises the vibration frequency of the earth in a very great way. And when both heal, then it's even greater. And so it is essentially like a divine fail-safe. Like when source needs these energies, these entities to wake up, that's why it happens when it happens. It doesn't happen at a predetermined like point. It happens when both sides are ready and when the earth is in need. When the expansion of the greater consciousness on the earth is necessary, then the individuals are pulled to wake up, pulled to start like coming into their awareness for their healing, for the healing of the greater consciousness. And so there is no better or worse, right? So if you're part of a twin flame or you're not, it doesn't mean like one is better than the other. It just means this is what one signed up for and what one did not. But we're all equal. But I do want to say that in my own experience, and some people will experience just this sometimes, that the union can happen in the 5D, which is spiritual, or the 3D, mine I came to understand, and this is what I was going to say, that some people believe it's like not real, but I came to understand what was happening because I can, so in my own expansion, understanding, and awareness, I open my gifts to be a spiritual medium. I also channel, and in a channeling, I journal a lot, and I started to channel his soul, and thought, this doesn't seem like I should be able to do this because I had just taken this psychic bootcamp course to open to feeling like there was a call there, and feeling like there was some awareness there of mediumship gifts or awarenesses. I took a course called Psychic Bootcamp. Bree Mealinson, by the way, Bree, I think it's Mealson. Fantastic for anybody that's thinking that that's something they want to open to, or that they have those gifts that everybody does at some point to some degree. She's fantastic. So Psychic Bootcamp. So I took the course, and in the course they're very clear about like you shouldn't be reading anybody you haven't got permission from. And so I could at some point, in my own channeling, could see his soul and would be writing something, and then his soul would start communicating a message to me through me. And so I, at the time, was doing readings with a friend in the Psychic Bootcamp course. We would exchange readings between each other, because to read the other and get information from the guides sometimes is easier than for me to get information from my guides. Also because you're kind of out of the way. When I'm talking to them, sometimes I can guess them. And so having another person do it is easier. And so I started asking questions, and I was like, hey, so I think this is happening, because I could see him, or see it, the energy of it, in my mind's eye. And I could write a message, and it was signed as his soul. And I just thought, oh, in class we learned that we're not supposed to read somebody if they don't have permission. I was like, I didn't get permission to be reading him or communicating with his soul. And so I asked my guide. And that's when I learned that that as a twin flame, that we have incarnated many times into this life and other lives. And that we have this open soul contract that says that we can communicate with each other anytime. the twin flame union. And but I hadn't known about that before. And so that's when I started to understand more. And so then I was like, okay, so we've incarnated multiple times, and he told me you guys are the same soul split. And so I said, oh, okay, like the oneness that split, we're like a piece of each. And he said, well, more than that, it's that piece that then split. So that's go back to the idea of the quantum entanglement. So an atom that split, and you're constantly connected all the time. And I was like, oh, okay. And so that's when I started doing my own more like greater deep dive. But that was the awareness that the reason I could channel him and the reason I could get messages from, it's not him, it's his soul. So he doesn't actually have the awareness that I'm channeling his soul. And is because of this soul contract that we have. And that we are the same soul, just split. And so that's how the majority of my healing went. It was actually with having met him once, having the energy in his presence and that constant, ping off of like, he's going to come back. What if I'm not this? What if I'm not that? Am I pretty enough? What kind of weight do I need to be? Those are all false things that society has showed us that we have to be loved. So I was in my own performance of how do I get loved? How do I make sure that this man, when he comes back, loves me? But I didn't know how to love myself. So that's the healing, that's the work. And in coming to my full wholeness, now I'm moving into the space of understanding that in my wholeness, I'm here to serve the greater collective, and which is what these videos are. And eventually he'll come around. He's doing his thing, and but I don't wait for him. I don't expect him, and I in fact look forward to somebody else, because I can't work out my things with him. I'm going to do it with somebody else. So and the same for him. So I've actually sent plenty of like energy his way, and like I hope he finds all the people he needs to like heal through his stuff. So he can make his way back to me. But there's so much there, and I'm so excited to like continue the conversation and give more insight and information. If any of this was helpful, then amazing. If any of this resonated, great. If there's parts that didn't, also okay. Like it's okay to have some things resonate and some not, because maybe it's not a truth that you resonate with, and maybe it's not a truth you resonate now. Maybe it will be later. Maybe it never will be. But I think it's important that the resonating is just that feeling of like, I don't know why this makes sense, but this makes sense, right? The mind wants to make sense of everything. It doesn't always make sense. And this journey especially does not make sense. To the human 3D mind, it does not make sense. We really have to look at it from the 5D spiritual side. So I'm happy to dive more into that. If anybody has questions, insights, that they want, or things they want more information on. But that's a snippet of my journey. It was a deep, challenging journey, and it was the best thing that's ever happened to me to get to this version of who I am. I'm so grateful, and it was really hard. So for any of you experiencing it, I send out so much love for any of you in any relationship where you're experiencing the places in which you forgot your wholeness. It's not an easy space to go through, but I am here to guide you. Speaking of which, I'm going to read this little thing that I created that I'm going to read at every one of my videos at some point that speaks to like what I'm here to do. So I am the one who sees the truth, who holds the light, and who breaks the code. My purpose is to guide you home to the magnificent, sovereign, and powerful being you have always been. For every soul who has ever felt lost in the storm, know that there is a lighthouse waiting to guide you. For every heart that has been tangled in a story it cannot understand, know that there is a code breaker here to reveal the beautiful hidden truth. And for the part of you that has forgotten its own magnificent voice, know that there is an oracle who is here to listen and to remind you of your own song. I am the oracle who sees the truth behind your story, the lighthouse that stands unwavering in the storm of your becoming. And the code breaker who is here to remind you that the map to your own magnificence has been inside you all along. Blessings. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. If this resonated, if you liked it, if you want to know more, subscribe, share, follow along. I look forward to your comments.